I think I have it. I have the most interesting tour to date. The Indianapolis Zoo has done it again. In 2024, they debuted the International Chimpanzee Complex. For the second time in their history, they built a mega million-dollar primate complex that is so unique, you'll be both amazed as much as you will be confused. So, let's get to it. Before we do that, I would just be over the moon if you press those like and subscribe buttons to officially join this zoo crew, and then it's a requirement for everyone to answer, what is the weirdest zoo exhibit you have ever seen? I am so glad I have a second opportunity to start us off at the main entrance. See the video in the corner. Turns out, one of my tips should have been check as many bathrooms as you're allowed to, because apparently in the visitor center, the zoo took a page out of Nashville's book and put tamarin monkeys in the bathroom. The entrance trail has you stroll through the absolutely gorgeous White River Gardens, the Hilbert Conservatory, the Global Center for Species Survival, and the Our Living Planet Rotunda before you're spit out into the main zoo. And there it is in all its glory. The complex might not attract a lot of positivity, but I have to admit, props to whoever thought it was a good idea to make a 3D map of the complex. I actually thought it was really cool. This right here is the community hub that throws focus on the chimpanzee's social life. The sign states that their communities can have fewer than 20 or more than 100 members, with multiple adult males, females, and their offspring, contrasting a gorilla community with adult females, offspring, and usually just one adult male. The hub allows the apes to show off their vertical skills, offering them a view of downtown Indianapolis. On numerous occasions, people have already compared this to the aesthetics of the newer Planet of the Apes, and if we're gonna describe this with movie talk, I like to call it the sequel to the very equally loved International Orangutan Center that is down the path and has a very similar metal vibe to it. Based on early concept art, I was a little worried that this hexagon would be the entire place, but we're only 1/3 of the way done. Like how the Orangutan Center's hook is the sky trail that takes the orange apes 80 feet into the air, the chimps have a 1/4 of a mile long, 14-foot tall trail of their own. You've probably heard the term that it's so big that you can see it from space, but there's an old zoo enthusiast saying that I just made up. If you can see the exhibit from the parking lot, that's a pretty big deal. It gets you hyped up for what you're about to see, and you could just pay the $10 parking fee, see the chimps, and call it a day. Most zoos these days make their overhead tunnels with wood and mesh. Indianapolis opted with a much more comfortable stainless steel material. The complex is presented by Indiana Honda dealers, so that might explain its industrial look. The trail can move the apes from the far right side of the zoo to its heart. That includes the entire length of the forest exhibit. They can walk right over its entrance, in between the always playful bears and the bald and golden eagles. And never did I ever think that I would have a kangaroo and a chimpanzee in the same shot. Even though they're not exactly part of the forest area, even if it's where they belong, there's still signage near the beginning and the end of the trail mentioning how they find their food and the differences between a monkey and an ape. And to answer your question, how do the keepers keep the walkways clean? Well, they have access to several spiral staircases that'll take them up into the air. Before you take a hike into the woods, you're very likely to be drawn towards the Cognition Center. A month after it opened, it looked like this. But the following month, it looked like this, and I'll get to those in a second. The International Orangutan Center has been described as a lab rather than a normal zoo exhibit. Well, here's how the chimp complex has earned that title as well. The zoo describes cognition as the set of mental processes that make up the workings of the mind, including how we experience things, learn, solve problems, and make decisions. It's common knowledge that chimpanzees are intelligent, but the zoo wants to prove just how smart they actually are. They're given the option to engage in mind-working tasks through computerized touch panels for us to study how they think and to keep their brains on their toes. And yes, you can test your own knowledge and find out if you are just as smart as a chimpanzee by taking those same tests. It didn't go so well for my friend, but to make myself feel and look a little better, I went with the easier task, and I have to admit that, yeah, I am pretty proud of myself for how I did. The community hub is all outdoors, while the cognition area is both indoor, and if you go just outside the exit door, you'll see that it's connected to what's now the old lemur habitat. And I can't tell you how relieving it was to see something that was at least natural looking in some way. You probably have a lot of questions by now, and one of them might be, how can I be guaranteed to see the chimps use the walkway? Well, animals are obviously unpredictable, so I can only answer that from experience. On my first visit, they did not use it at all, but on my very next one, some of them were up there all day and eventually went on the move back inside around 2 p.m. into the Cognition Center. One thing about the complex is that it's so far spread out that you'll most likely walk around other attractions around the zoo before seeing the entire thing. You might go from the community hub to the oceans, see an entire dolphin show, the cognition area, walk through the forest, walk with the kangaroos, before finally getting to part 3. Sitting on the site of the old All-Star Dog Challenge Arena is the Culture Center that celebrates social structures and the way of life of chimps in the wild. As far as the public knows, it's the only all-indoor portion of the attraction and where the primates are most likely to be interested in the other primates. I learned this from basic observation, and I was literally told that one of these guys or gals has a shoe fetish. I'm not saying that the Culture Center is my favorite. I can't give them credit for its natural depiction of an African rainforest, but I have to give them some credit for its educational value. There's a video presentation about their fusion fission society, a term that was first used for Hamadryas baboons. Well, in this case, it pretty much means chimps will form large groups, the fusion part, but within this large group are smaller groups whose numbers can change at any given moment. Along the back wall, visitors can learn about these distinct communities and cultures across Africa and how the chimps use tools to hunt. A lot of zoos will have chimpanzees show off this skill with a stick and a fake termite mound. The Cognition Center already convinced you that they have the brains, but this proves that they have the brawn, with real, authentic tools on display that were found in the wild and used to hunt termites and even bush babies. The complex also doesn't shy away from conservation. These endangered apes have to deal with the mining and metal industry that cuts down their trees. And this industry is mining for coltan, a mineral that's found in our cell phones. So instead of trading it in for a better deal, you can do the right thing by recycling your phone, most likely at your local zoo, and help reduce this mining and preserve the chimpanzee's habitat. The Culture Center is also where you can ask a stationed docent all of your questions. I personally am afraid of people, so I usually avoid doing that. But this exhibit forced me to ask as many questions as I could. I was told that the complex can house 30 chimps. It opened with 21, and they are or were divided into 3 troops coming from other accredited facilities, private ownership, and biomedical labs. I cannot remember if they said the zoo would try to integrate 2 or 3 of these troops. I hope so, because then what would be the point of letting them travel between 2 exhibits if you're not even allowed to mix and match the groups? Then I asked what you were all wondering. Quote unquote, why does the complex look like this? They mentioned that since some of the chimps are from labs, they are used to the minimal look. Then I pretty much got the same answer that you can read online. The International Chimpanzee Complex was designed to promote natural behaviors by giving these great apes the freedom to decide where to go, what to do, and who they want to do it with. Their home doesn't look like a forest or savanna, but it functions in a naturalistic way. It provides the kind of variety and freedom that allows these chimps to truly be ... chimpanzees. So, I guess no matter what you think of it, the zoo isn't lying. It really is chimpanzees like you've never seen them before. And I am gonna leave us right there for now because I have to go make some popcorn before I read your comments. So internet, please do your thing. And let us all know what you really think of the International Chimpanzee Complex. And if you're one of the few that defends it, good luck. Stay tuned for the next episode, y'all, and thank you for watching Zoo Tours.